They have no nucleus or organelles, are shaped like biconcave discs, and live for only 120 days in circulation, so they need to be replaced fast. Red blood cells leave the bone marrow to carry oxygen to other tissues throughout your body. White blood cells, called leukocytes, also proliferate and differentiate within the red bone marrow. This cell is a special type of leukocyte called a macrophage. Let's take a closer look. These lighter coloured cells are red blood cells, and this is a macrophage. These cells have large nuclei and a grainy appearance in a H&E stain. Macrophages are a type of immune cell that travels around your body engulfing pathogens and foreign bodies. Its name gives you a bit of a clue about its function, given that it translates to big eater. Outside of the blood, macrophages have specific names depending on their location. These cells here are called megakaryocytes. Megakaryocytes are large polyploid cells. Polyploidy simply means that they have multiple nuclei. They divide into fragments called platelets under the control of thrombopoietin, produced by the liver and kidneys. The platelets then circulate through the blood and form clots when blood vessels are injured and need to be patched up. We've finished looking at red bone marrow and some of the cells that can be found in it, so let's look at the other type of bone marrow, yellow bone marrow. Yellow bone marrow mainly plays a supportive role for the neurovasculature within the marrow cavity. It's not actively involved in blood cell development and is present more in adult bones as they are not growing quickly and do not need to produce as many new cells. Instead, yellow bone marrow is filled with adipocytes or fat cells. These cells look like round white droplets between the bone spicules. They arise from mesenchyme and store lipids as an energy source. When needed, adipocytes release a hormone called leptin that suppresses appetite. Now that we've gone over the structure and functions of the marrow cavity, let's take a look at how bone marrow is used in medicine. Sometimes surgeons harvest bone marrow to use for therapy or diagnosis. To get the marrow, a needle is passed through cortical bone to reach marrow cavities. Because they are taking blood cells, the surgeons usually attempt to use the iliac crest because it contains red bone marrow. Mesenchymal stem cell therapy from cells in the bone marrow can be used to repair musculoskeletal tissues as an alternative to orthopaedic surgery. Pathologists also use blood cells from the bone marrow to diagnose leukemia. This is a slide of cells taken from bone marrow that was analysed to diagnose a pathology. The red blood cells are the numerous pink cells throughout the slide, and white blood cells are the two blue ones in the middle. To finish up, let's go over some of the things that we've learned today. In this tutorial, we explored the histology of the bone marrow cavity. We began by listing the location, contents, and major functions of bone marrow. Next, we talked about two major features supporting the structure of the marrow cavity: the trabeculae that form a bony network within the cavity, and specialised blood vessels called sinusoidal capillaries. We went on to talk about the organisation of bone marrow into three zones: the endosteal zone closest to the bone, the intermediate zone that exists between the endosteal zone and the central zone, and the central zone near the middle of the marrow cavity.